What is going on, guys? The Inside the Boot podcast, and today we are talking about the New York Yankees and their start after their first 18 games. It's been a while since we've talked about the New York Yankees. The last time, honestly, we've talked about them, I believe, was the offseason and the expectations. And so far, I think overall, this is kind of where I see the Yankees, and it's kind of where I honestly expected them to be, right in the mix of the first place. And overall, offensively, they were going to be good. And the pitching staff is what we wanted to see out of. What were we going to get out of Carlos Rodon? What was Marcus Stroman going to bring to the table? Or even Cookie Carrasco? And so far, I've kind of expected this. Rodon to let up home runs, Marcus Stroman to be the big talker and not much to back it up. And then Cookie Carrasco is just going to be there for nothing more than a number 5 in the rotation. And then Will Warren, I think he's been good. I love how Max Fried is pitching. Going into the early awards that I had Max Fried winning the Cy Young for the New York Yankees pitching staff, and I think there's even a real chance that he could win it for overall. But like I said, pitching staff for the New York Yankees, it obviously took a huge hit with Garrett Cole and Luis Gil, but they just got Clarke Schmidt back, which is huge. Huge. It is so big because Clarke Schmidt was a good pitcher, for the New York Yankees, and to get a guy like Clarke back in the rotation takes a little bit of the weight off of Max Fried's shoulders, who has been carrying this pitching staff from day one, from his start against the Milwaukee Brewers to his last start. And the thing that I love about Max Fried is he is your ace, right? When you lose a guy like Garrett Cole, it's kind of who are you pointing to as the ace, and Max Fried has shown since 2020 he's been one of the best starting pitchers in baseball. Yankees, of course, locked him up for a ton of years and a lot of money, and he's been pitching to that. And if there's someone who's was signed for a lot of years and has not been pitching to that, it's been Carlos Rodon. Carlos Rodon has allowed 14 earned runs thus far, and that's the 6th most in baseball. And if anyone was wondering where Marcus Stroman is, he has allowed 12 earned runs. That's 29th most in baseball. But honestly, I think the leeway from 14 to 12 is right there. I know it says that Carlos Rodon is ranked 6th and Marcus Stroman is 29th, but I'm pretty sure that's a long list of the same amount of players who have allowed 12 earned runs or 13 or 14. So realistically, Stroman has probably allowed the top 10 most in baseball, which is unacceptable, and especially with how he talks, I'm only going to be a starting pitcher, I'm not going to do this reliever, bullpen role. You have to understand that if you want to be a starter, you have to pitch like a starter. And Marcus Stroman has been nothing but poor, and he makes, $18.5 million per season to pitch like trash. I think the Yankee fan base has given up on Marcus Stroman, and honestly, I'm one of those. If anyone has known from me, I give players a long leeway from their struggles to when can they bounce back. Marcus Stroman is done. And I know people were like, Luis Gil went down, Garrett Cole went down. Now Marcus Stroman can step up, and he has been nothing but utter trash. And another thing with Carlos Rodon, to, I guess, keep piggybacking on the bad stats of Carlos Rodon, he's tied for the second most homers allowed in baseball, which is 5. The most is 6, and I believe that's held by Roki Sasaki. I'd have to check that stat. I'll probably have it when I edit this video, who leads actually, like a top 5 leaderboard of who has allowed the most home runs. Home runs have been the worst for Carlos Rodon, and in his last 36 starts, I believe he's allowed 36 home runs allowed. So essentially, for all of you guys who bet out there, if you bet, Carlos Rodon's going to allow a home run, you would be 36 for 36. I'm pretty sure he's allowed, every game he's allowed. It's not like he's allowed 2 in one game. He probably has, but I don't know if it's the stadium, if it's Yankee Stadium. When you pitch from the Giants Stadium, it's pretty pitcher friendly. If I'm being totally honest, or Chicago, regardless, you have to know that you're pitching in Yankee Stadium and you can't miss with a high fastball, or you can't miss with the breaking ball like that. And you can't let one thing get to you. And I feel like that's the problem with Carlos Rodon is, so an umpire calls a bad pitch, right? You thought it was a strike, you thought you got him, but it was actually a ball. Now we're all of a sudden crashing out, and now we can't hit our spots, and we can't hit our fastball command. That can't happen. You are a veteran in this league, to be totally honest. You're not in your early 20s. You're getting upper in age. You have to know that no umpire is going to call a perfect game. Only very few times that has happened throughout this early season. I think it's happened like twice that an umpire has called a perfect game of every single ball and every single strike. It doesn't happen all the time. And to me, it's really just the fact that Carlos Rodon has an issue with that. And, I mean, it happened in the playoffs. First inning, he allowed all of his juice. I'm pretty sure it was against the Royals. And then all of a sudden, the wheels started to come off, and I think he only pitched like 4 innings. In the first inning, he was electric. He has to stay composed, and when his stuff is on, it can be good. Like, we have seen good starts from Carlos Rodon. But then there's also starts that it's like, what the hell happened? So that's my thing with, Carlos Rodon. Overall, Yankees pitching has allowed the second most walks in baseball. And take a guess who is actually at number 1. It's the LA Dodgers, a team that I definitely wouldn't expect when you have guys like Roki Sasaki, who hasn't been good. You got Yamamoto, you got Glasnow, you got Blake Snell, you got all these guys, and the Dodgers are actually number 1. Yankees are third most in Ks. They're only behind the Houston Astros and the LA Dodgers, so there's your comeback for the LA Dodgers. You can strike out guys, but you also walk a lot. The biggest issue is the earned runs earned run average, of course, ERA to keep it short. Yankees are 9th highest at 4.22. That has dropped. That was in the 5s, but that has dropped, which is good. The Yankees cannot have such a high ERA, especially when you're taking on teams in your division. Like, your starting rotation has to be good, and that's why teams who have a good starting rotation are good. And the Yankees have an ace in Max Fried, but then it's a significant drop-off, in my opinion, without Garrett Cole, without Luis Gil. When you go from Max Fried to Carlos Rodon, you're going from a guy who has a 1.88 ERA to a guy that's in the high 4s. And I know, like I said, Rodon has had, 3 starts so far this season, maybe 4. He's 1 in 3, if you want to take pitcher's record. Regardless, Rodon it has to pitch better for what his tag is and what he's making. Rodon has to be better, and it could definitely improve from being like an 11 and 17 through your first 18, and it could be like a 13 and 5, something like that. Now, I'm not complaining about the record. 11 and 7 is still a strong start to the Yankees season. It's just when you're in a tight division that you're only leading, by 0.5 to starting rotation, you got to have good innings and you got to have good starts from your starting rotation. That's really what the main concern I have is once it goes from Max Fried, what am I getting out of those 4 other guys? Now, with Clark Schmidt, of course, coming back, it's huge, and he had a good start in his last game against the Kansas City Royals, so that's huge. So, like I said, that's taking off the weight of Max Fried. Clark Schmidt could start pitching well. And if you add good starts from Rodon, and even if Cookie Carrasco can give you a good start once every 5 days, and, Will Warren, and, all these guys, that could be huge. Now, eventually, Luis Gil is going to start pitching again. I think it's like 9 days before he can actually really start amping up his pitching program, I'm pretty sure. So that's huge. But let's get away from the pitching, and let's talk about this offense. Of course, Aaron Judge has been phenomenal. He's batting .400, and he already is crushing the baseball. And, of course, Aaron Judge is a very fun player to watch. And, of course, this is what I love. I love seeing Aaron Judge crush the baseball, but it's not just him. It's Ben Rice. It's Trent Grisham. I mean, you know, and I think Cody Bellinger is eventually going to start hitting the ball better, and you know, guys like Anthony Volpe. Of course, Anthony Volpe's hitting is always a roller coaster, but when he's hitting the ball well and he's running around the bases, you know he's having fun, and you know he is in for a good offensive season. But yeah, guys like Bellinger and Jazz, who are batting, you know, under 200 so far. We've played 18 games, and I'm not, you know, trying to make this like some sort of overreaction podcast. No, I'm just saying that, you know, of course I have to note some guys out that maybe have gotten off to a slow start, and that's why, you know, guys like Oswaldo Cabrera has been hitting the ball well, and Trent Grisham. So that's huge that, you know, maybe these guys are not hitting well, but other guys are filling in. But so far, the Yankees' hitting statistics, right now they're in second most in home runs hit. They're seventh in hits, eighth in walks, and slugging, and they're in first. OPS, they're in first, and overall batting average, they're in fifth. So the hitting has done its job. And so let's get into another segment. My favorite players to watch so far. Could you take a guess at who's my number one? Give you a few seconds. It's Ben Rice. Ben Rice has been unbelievable. I mean, his percentile rankings are in the 90 percentile. Some are in the 100th. He has been unreal, Ben Rice. And maybe I had him as a breakout candidate. I don't remember. I'd have to go back to that video of the awards. But regardless, Ben Rice has been unbelievable. And it's huge. So, like I said, it's huge for Aaron Judge to hit well. But with the other guys in the lineup, it makes Aaron Judge not be, the lone wolf, even though he has been unbelievable. The best hitter in baseball continues to do what he does best. And with guys like Ben Rice and Cabrera and Grisham, all these guys, Paul Goldschmidt, Austin Wells, hitting well. No pun intended there, but it's huge. And if you look at it from a future standpoint, eventually Paul Goldschmidt is no longer going to be the first baseman for the New York Yankees. Enter Ben Rice. Ben Rice would be that first baseman unless they go out for an international player to play first base from Japan leagues. Maybe they do that, but I feel like from Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone's standpoint, they're kind of like, if Ben Rice continues to play well and, hit in the 260s or 270s and get on base, why spend money when we can just have Ben Rice? But another player has been Max Fried, of course, the ace of the pitching staff, my preseason Cy Young winner for the New York Yankees pitching staff, not just for not for the MLB, just for the Yankees, and he's been good. And once every 5 days when Max Fried's pitching, I've gotten a good start. We've gotten good starts out of Max Fried. I haven't had to worry about him one bit, and that is great to see for Max Fried and the confidence, and it's only getting better. I mean, a 1.88 to start hasn't really allowed much. Most of his strikeouts are coming against righty hitting, and both of his home runs that he has allowed have been solo shots. Another player that I've liked has been Paul Goldschmidt, the veteran, the first baseman. He was out there for a while in free agency, and I'm pretty sure I made a Instagram short on him that with what has gone on, the first baseman targets were Christian Walker, Paul Goldschmidt, and Carlos Santana. Christian Walker wanted a lot of money, and he went to the Houston Astros. Carlos Santana went to the Cleveland Guardians. So that opened up the chance that the Yankees can go out and get Paul Goldschmidt for cheap. And he's been nothing but spectacular. 348 batting average, and he's already got 5 doubles on the year. And another player who I've already talked about a lot has been Trent Grisham. This guy has done very well, and he's been in the lineup probably more than I've honestly expected. But with Dominguez playing well and Bellinger and Judge, you could have Judge DH one day and Trent Grisham can play the outfield. Or Belly play DH, or even, Dominguez. So, with Trent Grisham swinging a hot bat, it really helps that Aaron Boone make this lineup choices a lot easier. But it also does make it hard for Boone to take Grisham out of the lineup. It's tough for him to do that. But to wrap it up, this is what I was looking forward to talking about, and it's the division. Right, of course, the main goal is to win the division, but right now it's tight. Right, the Yankees have a .5 games lead on the Toronto Blue Jays, and the upcoming series, the next 16 games are big. Only 3 of those 16 games are against non-divisional opponents, and that's still a really good team, the Cleveland Guardians. So then you play 7 against the Tampa Bay Rays. They open up a series tonight on April 17th, the day I'm recording this. They take on 3 games against Baltimore, and then 3 games against Toronto. And then everyone's wondering, when are we playing against Boston? The Yankees don't play against Boston until June 6th at the Bronx for, I believe, a 3-game series. And during that time, they'll play against good teams. And they'll take on the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Padres. Big playoff contenders in the NL before they even take a shot at Boston. So the Yankees are going to be playing against some good competition heading into that Boston series, but to me, it's kind of crazy that they don't play Boston for a while. Another thing, like I said, Clark Schmidt back in the rotation, and the first upcoming pitching matchups is Will Warren tonight, Rodon, Carrasco, and then Fried against the Tampa Bay Rays. And the Tampa Bay Rays have actually hit well. They're actually one of the higher teams in batting average this season. And I guess to wrap it up, let's talk about a little bit more of the Aaron Judge dominance. Since May 5th of last year, Aaron Judge is slashing .363 batting average, he's got 59 home runs and 146 RBIs in 141 games, and currently he's batting .400 with a 1.6 WAR. That's unbelievable. For he's trying to win another AL MVP. Of course, he's trying to go for that ring. He's trying to go for a World Series. I mean, some other stuff. Dating back to the start of 2022, he has 164 home runs. That ranks first, leads by 26. He has 371 RBIs. That is 13 more. He's got an on-base percentage of .436. That's also ranked first. That leads by 27. He's got a slugging percentage he's at .679. That ranks first. And he leads that by 76 points. OPS plus by 209. That ranks first. That leads by 36. And then F-WAR of 28.9. That ranks ahead by 8.9. So Aaron Judge is good at baseball, and we know that. Now, a thing that I want to leave to you guys is, what is your main positive about this team, and what is your main negative? For me, the main negative has been the starting rotation outside of Max Fried, and the biggest positive has been, of course, Aaron Judge and this offense. But that is pretty much going to wrap it up for this episode of the New York Yankees. Of course, I love you guys. And, of course, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and, of course, leave a comment about, why Aaron Judge is so good at baseball. But that's going to do it for this video. Of course, let's go Yankees, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.